The magical 30 days, or let's say, because there is plenty information around when you can find on, online, or whatever you're going to be googling it, or people are saying, or people are claiming, 30 days, what kind of changes you should expect, and what's going to happen to you when you stop drinking alcohol, or even the same things are actually pushed towards the time when they say that you're going to stop drinking alcohol, and these are the things which they might, for instance, happen to you, for you. I have 7 things which we're going to look very closely at it, and to be fair, frankly speaking, them 7 things we're gonna break down to small bits and pieces, and we're gonna just actually look on it if this is actually the truth situation, or maybe this is something misleading. Because if we're talking about misleading people around these days, well, that stuff and them situations happen constantly and all the time. Number one, what I would like to look at is the claims are going towards like within 30 days your liver can completely regenerate, right? So it's gonna heal itself. Okay. Now with this one, I have a little problem, because if we're talking about someone who, let's say, drinks very, very, very rarely, like, the drinks are going very rare, and let's say that you have a person who actually drink something around every 6 months, or maybe once in a year, and we're talking about very, very little amount of alcohol, then I will say, yeah, that will happen to that person. Because let's say, and if we take in consideration as well that this person does not have a fatty liver, right? Which you can get it, not always from alcohol, but you can get it as well from eating sugar, right? Excess sugar creates pretty much the same situation as you can get fatty liver from having too much sugar, but you can have, for instance, fatty liver as well coming up from drinking heavy or a lot or constantly alcohol. So let's say that that person does not have any liver issues, then yes, you're doing some kind of a night out, or maybe you're doing some kind of a, family gatherings, whatever that's gonna be, and it's alcohol involved in that, and you drink that alcohol. So yes, then is that distance of break which you don't drink, so the liver has a chance to actually get rid of all the toxins and regenerate itself, because the damage was not too big to cover. Now, very much number of people are taking this information as, well, they drinking regularly. Majority times they even probably binge drinking or drinking heavy, and they thinking if they're gonna do themselves from time to time 30 days break, then liver's gonna be okay, because it's gonna heal itself and I can go back to bash my liver again with alcohol. Unfortunately, stuff doesn't work that way. If you have a situation that you actually, constant drinking, keep drinking for years, decades, whatever that is, you keep damaging your liver, right? Because liver is one of the organs which is actually not nerved technically towards to your body. It does not give you any signs of pain until it's pretty much in a bad state, and then it starts, just telling you in perspective, it getting oversized, it get a little bit bigger, get a little fatty. That fattiness actually is touching ribs, so sometimes you have a situation when you're leaning up front and you actually kind of a feeling pain in this area in here. It's just because, like sitting up to the little bit leaning to, forward, then you have to just like get yourself a little bit back, so then the pressure is released. Or let's say that some people are sitting on a chair, and then after some time sitting, they need to actually lie down because they don't feel comfortable around this area. This is just because your liver got fatty. Just because you're gonna do such a break, 30 days, yes, it will be starting the process of healing, but it's not gonna, just generate or regenerate itself to the completely new tissue as a liver. So it's gonna be okay. Now we can continue doing what we're doing. With people which they drinking a lot, we have to be honest with ourselves, and frankly speaking, for the time when you've been given bad things, you have to give exactly pretty much the same time or maybe even more, depending on how much damage is done to get yourself to that perfect state. Number two, money, right? We have many statements about the people. I mean, I stopped drinking for 30 days, I saved some money. Or if you stop drinking, for the longer period of time, or you totally go into the sobriety, that you're gonna start seeing the money. Well, this one is like 50-50. I don't want to be like some kind of a financial advisor, but I will put it this way. If you're not a saver, and if you're not gonna just kind of calculate yourself how much money I've been spending on alcohol, booze, beers, whatever you want to call it, if you're not gonna take that money, the calculated amount, if you're not gonna put it on site somewhere in the saving account, or just physically somewhere, you're not gonna see that money. Because if you're a spender, then you're gonna have a situation. Okay, fair enough, I don't drink, so I don't spend the money for the alcohol, but I will be spending that money now on something else. So where is the saving? It's just because you don't spend that money for the alcohol, you're spending for something else. So we cannot save that, we cannot call that savings. You didn't save nothing. You just moved money from one spot to the other. You spend money on something else. So technically speaking, yes, you saved from not drinking, but you don't see physically savings because that money is being flogged on something else, if that makes sense. So that is typical 50-50 depending on the individual. Unless you will decide, okay, all the money I've been like putting towards drinking, I'm right now putting somewhere on side and I'm not touching that. So then yes, that will be the money. You will see that you save something. Or for the money which you've been spending on alcohol, I will rather say that money is going towards something more beneficial. So let's say, that the money was used to buy something which you physically see some, kind of a results from it as a materialistic way. Or maybe instead of spending that money, let's say, for the alcohol, you're spending right now in some kind of a sport activities. Maybe you got something hobby. So it's not actually saving, but it's actually giving you something better in return. And then let's say that would be definitely much, much more healthy rather than drinking alcohol, which, as we know it, is just taking toll on your health and does not actually give you any benefits from that perspective at all. Number three is there is a people who's they claiming they lost the weight, and that pretty much will be the same as the money wise, right? If you are the person who's drinking alcohol, majority cases, I would say, I'm not saying everyone, but in majority cases, plenty of people having a poor diet. They might not be eating right, or they might be having like kind of a very high processed food because you're not gonna be standing in the kitchen and fixing yourself a very clever healthy meal, but that happens as well. But and then drinking alcohol, because the alcohol itself contains some kind of a nutritions anyway. You have some proteins in there, you have carbohydrates, you got some fats. But yes, I know these are not the proper ones if you're speaking from dietitianary side. But when people stop drinking, majority cases we try to kind of compromise in terms that probably you might be looking a little bit more to the fridge, because if you look on a beer or any alcohol or wine or vodka or whatever that was, that still is loaded on calories, right? And now if I don't drink that, so I do not give myself them calories, you might be looking into different way of compensation. So, and as well, alcohol is actually loaded with sugar if we're talking about them drinks. Why? Because if you will be drinking pure ethanol, I don't think that's going to be kind of a good as a taste wise. So that's why they adding sugar and any other specifics into your drinks, so they actually variable that you can be able to actually drink them. And you can see the situation if you spill the beer somewhere, for instance, and you will leave it for some short period of time. When it dry out, that area is pretty much sticky, right? That's going to be the sugar kicking in. So then that's why that diet doesn't look perfectly nice, because some people, when they actually, get into the point that we don't drink alcohol anymore, they might have a tendency to go towards the sugar. It's just because you've probably been addicted from the alcohol itself as a substance, but then the sugar which was involved in it is giving you some kind of a kick in rush anyway, the feeling you're looking for. So yeah, losing that waistline, if you will be completely honest with yourself and frankly going towards kind of a clean diet, there's one thing that the people do not actually notice, right? And these days, food is not kind of a good way prepared and make. And in many situations, we have majority of them fast foods, they don't create, or they not being loaded with much fiber, which actually the fiber will be actually something which getting responsive for you being kind of and feeling full. So your belly, your stomach is actually in a good condition that digests slowly and stuff. When you have some kind of a bad food, processed food, then that creates you being hungry quicker. So in that perspective, you're looking into the fridge, and there might be the situation like, let's say, after 2 years or 3 years not drinking alcohol, you still might be carrying the same weight. Besides, your body will be fighting as well. When you try to cut on calories, or because you're gonna stop drinking, so your calories are going lower, so then automatically your body will be defending itself to create the state so you can stay within the same weight. So there is something. Well, losing weight is kind of a long process anyway, so from this perspective, I would say that can happen, that could happen, that it will happen, but you have to put some effort towards it if we're talking from nutrition side, as in diet, the diet itself. So yeah, well, this one is pretty much like the money. On the same circumstances, you have to do something about it to actually happen the right way. Number 4 is better sleep. Well, you stop drinking, unquestionable call, yes, your sleep will be better. But again, there is something. You might find yourself that you actually, and you will see that difference, that you actually can sleep faster in perspective of when I usually been, using alcohol, your REM, that deep sleep, was in terrible condition, right? It's just because of the alcohol. So, when you go to sleep, that your body you have to work hard to get rid of the toxins. So the liver is working on the heart, heart second, fourth, fifth shift, just, get overworked overtime constantly to get rid of the stuff. So your body, technically speaking, is not sleeping. That's why on the next day you're waking up and you don't feel well, because your body did not rest, because they needed to take care of you to survive for you. In that perspective, I have to get rid of the alcohol, metabolize, or whatever the process is. It's not necessarily, important right now. So, but that's the reason why your sleep was terrible, poor. Now you don't drink, so your REM becomes better. So let's say for 5, 6, or 7 hours, your quality of the sleep is way better. But then again, it could be the situation right now because you start feeling better. So, we have busy lives, we have families, some people are busy with this or that, and you always try to find that kind of a relaxing time. And these days, with phones, tablets, computers, you name it, we have all the blue light and all the things which they involve in it. We have a tendency to stay longer at night, so we don't sleep that well, because we shorten our time of sleeping. And then when you're going down to 4 hours or maybe 4.5 hours, and let's say that you are someone who works physically, so you need to put some muscle, and the hustle behind the muscle towards the work, or whatever the work activity you do in it. So then you actually need a little bit more sleep, so be proper rested. But just because you are sitting on your phone through the night, and you're doing the short distances of sleep, then you don't feel pretty much well from it. But then again, it's everything is in a balance, right? With that sleep, same stuff. So it might be the situation that your sleep might not look too good when you stop drinking alcohol, because now you move yourself a little bit to different activity, which they could be addicted as well. I mean, the personalities which they addicted to some kind of a substances, they can easily be addicted to any other behavior, because we kind of have that kind of a, let's say, gene or whatever inside you, which gets you in that perspective that you are more leaning towards some kind of a bad behavior. From this perspective, that's going to be less sleep because you want to watch another series of something, so you push for another 40 minutes or 50 minutes, and then that's how you're crushing your sleep. And on the next day, you're waking up. Maybe you don't feel as bad as you've been feeling like you've been drinking, but you still could feel a little bit poorlish. So this one is pretty much the same like with food and the money. That will be pretty much depending on you, because these are them things which actually we are controlling. So this is something we decide what to do, right? It's not an outside source pushing you towards if you're gonna eat wrong or you're gonna eat right, or you're gonna do something right with the money or you're gonna do something wrong with the money. And the same as with the sleep. These are the things which you controlling. So you have a power. If you want to change that, you know what to do. Number 5 is the relationship, right? So let's say that you are actually with a partner, or you have whatever, it's a wife, husband, kids, or or maybe you're like single parent. Anything could happen on that one. With them relationships, you need to remember that for the years of drinking, for instance, you've been the person who was drinking, and the people which they've been living with you or being around you, these are actually the people which they know you only from drinking side. Okay, so maybe you've been lazy on some kind of your responsibilities. Maybe you've been pushing your responsibilities on someone else. And now when you stop actually drinking, that will be kind of a new you. So then that will be like something odd for the people they've been living with you, because you need to understand that your behavior becomes a kind of a habit for them, how they understand the situation around the house. So now when you stop drinking, it's kind of a new you, and it's feeling odd for them. And then depends, because some people like, if you've been doing something and now you let's say you're drinking, so you're leaving them people by themselves because you're concerned only about your stuff, and now you actually taking over. You start being back in charge, and the places and any other stuff which you usually been not doing it well, someone else was doing it. Or even in some cases, even some people, they've been drunk, so kids needed to do something for their moms or pups because they were not unable to do that, because let's say they pass out on a sofa, on a couch, or whatever the place it was, and they needed to take care of that. And now suddenly you come in, because you don't drink, you come in with the new you want to make things up, you want to make things right, and it's becoming odd for the people they living with you, because now, one, you are kind of learning yourself into the new routines and systems, but the same is actually for them people they living with you. So it's not like devastation, it's just like kind of a different way, and they need to process that one, because you want to definitely jump on the wagon of being right, but then if you look like, fair enough, well, they didn't do something, now they're doing it, they're confusing other people which they living with them, so they need time as well to get it right. And sometimes on the beginning could be some sparks, some problems, some unclear situations which they need to be cleared up at some point. But usually time takes over and everything will be looking better and better and better. But before that happens, it might be a little bit odd. There might be like a little bit of disappointment sometimes coming for the people, because they thought like, oh, come on, I don't drink right now. It should be, everything's fine. Why everything is angry? Why everyone is angry with me right now? Why are they acting like this? Because in some perspective, by the time when you've been drinking, they got used to certain things. And now all that reality changes right now. It crashes and they have to start to get into new reality, which is a little bit of shock, right? You want a good, but actually that might look a little bit different. And the other situation when actually these relationships are going much more smooth, because depends on the other person. We've been expecting you finally to become what you're supposed to be, and taking all that burden, that load, that problems, so you can share it right now. When they used to, you've been the person who was like, I don't give a damn, not because I'm selfish, but I am selfish because I'm drinking. But now is the going back to it, so now we can share again our responsibilities, and so on and so on. So that is another tricky one. Sometimes partners cannot even get along. You might even hear something like, you know what, I really like you when you've been drunk. You might hear that stuff as well. Number 6 will be the study about the alcohol. I mean, this one is very tricky because if you think like used to was like information's going around and the people living with them informations, right? Like the little bit of alcohol would be good for you. If you're gonna do one shot from time to time, it's good for the healthy benefits. No, it's not. I'm sorry to break the message. I'm sorry to be the one who's gonna destroy that secret society, but no, it's not. At the end of the day, it's ethanol, right? And it's a poison. If you drink straight ethanol, you will see what's going to happen to you. Or maybe you're not going to be able to see it because it's going to end up very bad. And you're going to get to the different realm, if I may say that. But the truth is, like, it was something going like with the wine, right? If you drink wine, wine is good. I mean, if you don't do too much, I mean, it's all these good stuff in it. Who did the studies? That's the question. Who did the study for that? Because if the study is, I'll put it this way, if the study is paid by the people they actually producing alcohol and they paying for the study, of course the study will be like beneficial, right? It'll be beneficial. I mean, because even if someone drink one glass of something and there's nothing happened to him, right? Well, you don't see what's actually happened inside of the body, but outside you don't see some kind of effect, right? Because the alcohol doesn't have some kind of a quick, fast effect on you, unless it's gonna be something like you will drink, kind of, I don't know, substantial amount of alcohol within a very short period of time. If you're gonna make, like, I don't know, drink the whole bottle of, vodka within, I don't know, 5 to 10 minutes, and trust me, there are people that can do that. So then, yeah, let's say 10, 15 minutes later, you might see something not kicking right. But majority cases, if the study is being paid by someone who's actually making alcohol, of course it's going to be in favor. It's going to be in favor. The real trouble on that one is that there is no such thing like safe amount of alcohol. There is not. There is only difference how bodies are reacting to it, because if someone has some kind of a condition, for instance, then yes, something could happen to it. This is exactly the kind of a way showing you why after so many years you see some problems, and you sometimes you see problems straight away. But if someone, it depends if you have a weak body or something like that. I mean, conditions, whatever. But majority cases, why people drinking for decades and you don't see nothing happening. To be fair, it does happen something inside, but the damages which they come in on a regular basis, they're not visible straight away, right? It's like the same, like someone start drinking alcohol and he doesn't have a red face, okay? Some people constantly get in red face because of the temperature. Some people on the beginning, let's say, of the so-called journey with alcohol, they don't have any red faces, no problems. But later, through the years of drinking, they develop that state that suddenly, the face becomes a little bit reddish, alcoholic. It's just because your body start telling you that, it's too much toxins in your body and we not actually tolerate alcohol anymore in a right way. Or everything's fine, and then you, under your skin, you're gonna start seeing little, like, spiders or something like that, because your blood does not circulate right, and all the problems with veins start happening in the slow area. You don't see that until you actually realize, oh my god, something starts happening. Well, because your body starts actually telling you it's not good, it's not right. I mean, and now you have the signs of it, right? So a kind of the bill come due, right? So check please, and that check, you might not like it, and in them situations, sometimes might be too late to reverse the damage, unfortunately. But that's, you see, and everything depends. I mean, there might be people, they say, oh, I don't drink too much, I drink maybe, like, a glass of a wine every night, and 15 years later, suddenly you have to have a liver transplant because you have a failing liver and you didn't see anything for 10, 12 years. But let's say for the last 3 years, it starts something kind of being not right. And sometimes we are confusing them, symptoms, because you're thinking there's something wrong, but you never thought like that would be related to your liver, for instance. If you take in perspective, the liver actually takes some kind of around 500 different jobs around your body because it's responsible for it. Yeah, so you can see with the kidneys, the heart, and and any other parts of whichever are taking any progress process into how your actually body behaves, reacts, how heals, and so on and so on, which is not even going to technical on that one. To be fair, it's not working. So who paid for the study, right? The trouble is with that one, people later going through the years with the thinking, because someone said to you 10, 15 years ago, oh, it's okay, get one, if you get one shot from time to time, you'll be fine. Or maybe not, because in a longer period of distance, you are kind of getting addicted more to the alcohol. That's why you are more dependent on alcohol. And then later you come up on alcoholic addicted, alcohol use disorder, whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to call it. That is not a safe substance. It never will be. It never will be. If you look like, the volume of it, you drink vodka is 40% of ethanol there, right? For cleaning purposes, they're using ethanol, exactly the same, the same stuff you're drinking, but with the volume of 96% is used to cleaning the floors, killing bacteria. What do you think that's going to do to your gut? It's exactly that's what it does to them bacteria. But when the alcohol gets to your body, it's actually not killing only the bad stuff. It's killing the good bacteria too. So that's why later people have problems with stomach, because you kind of, technically speaking, killing what you've got good in you. Because we're supposed to have, for our balance, we're supposed to have some good bacteria, bad bacteria, but when you put the alcohol into it, they will happen. It will kill everything. It does not take prisoners. It will go for everything. So there you go. Who's paying for the study? Who's giving you that information? That's a very important one. I would say that you have to take all these informations with a pinch of salt. Of course, there will be some true stuff in it. There will be some lies, a river of lies, definitely in majority cases. People will be putting stuff in favors. That's what we're doing from beginning of the time. We like to bend reality a bit. So I would say it doesn't really matter if it's a 30 days or is it 100 days or is it a year or is it 2 years. That is a good gateway to start healing, to start being sober. And if you think right now when you're young and before you even touch anything like these mild substances like tea, coffee, anything which stimulates you, some people, yes, there is a kind of a pathway of the people start drinking around 13, 15 years old, and you touch your alcohol for the first time, so you're being introduced to it, exposed to it, yada 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 yada. I understand that, but the thing is, if you think until that 15 or 16, there's some people that they did not touch any alcohol till they've been 18, for instance. So imagine this: you got born, you're going into the life. You don't use coffee, you don't use the tea, like stage growing up as a kiddo. You're 14, 15, you never use the coffee. Your body could regenerate itself perfectly, right? If you've been tired, you go to sleep. If you've been tired, for instance, you need energy, you eat a food, right? You're eating the food, you're going to sleep, you regenerate yourself. When you go to sleep, you wake up in the morning, you're fresh, no problems. Once we start using our stimulators, everything went out of the window. Now you're constantly tired because we're constantly trying to cheat. And it is like that. Imagine the same as with coffee, right? You're feeling tired, drink the coffee. So, bang, you boost your nervous system. You got that, shot in your body. So, it's gonna work on the heart, then it gives you another hour, 2, 3, 5 of focus or whatever. And then it's a sudden drop. You have to go to sleep because you're totally tired. You can feel that tiredness, and that's why you should ask yourself the question: so how come until 18, 15, 14, I did not need nothing and I could go nicely, and now you're putting all that stuff in you and you're even more tired, right? Funny question, but it's a true question. This is what you rediscover when you're gonna be getting sober, when you're away from alcohol. You might be coming to the point that you stop drinking alcohol, you're gonna give up on cigarettes if you do any, or whatever the other stuff you're doing, it will stimulate you. Some people later even decide not to drink, let's say, coffee or tea. I know there's again like beneficials for this, beneficials for that, but technically speaking, if you take all them stimulates away from you, you don't got no these substances they're supposed to push you to be better, faster, stronger, and so on and so on, then suddenly you restore the balance. You restore the balance in your body, and your body kind of gives you the natural rhythm, and everything works perfectly for you because you go in right along with how your body feels. So you listen to your body and you react to how it's supposed to be done. If the body is tired, if you're feeling sleep, you go to sleep, right? And so on and so on. I hope that video was beneficial for you. Did you find something interesting? Maybe something that curious, maybe something you never thought about it. The one thing I want to say, it's time to get sober. Remember, if anybody done it, then you can do it. And yes, you can be the king or a queen of sobriety yourself. All right? I believe in you. There's no such thing as too late. I mean, well, fair enough. Maybe someone got into the point that, the doctors are saying that, we're giving you such and such and such of time, just like you're going to probably survive a year or two, whatever the story is. Make the most of it. Because that's the last time when you can step down, but you can push, and go into nice living and see how you've been living. And anyone has got a chance to change anything, and it's not too late. In perspective that you want to see how your life will look when you're sober, I highly recommend that. Go, because let's say the drunk life. Now go towards the sober life. You'll be amazed and surprised. Right, guys? Stay sober. If you're interested with more, you know what to do, and I see you soon.